Welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network, coming to you from the TeacherCast studios since 2011. Join us each week as we bring you the latest educational news, EdTech updates, and hottest interviews with today's most influential leaders in education. And now, for your host, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is Ask the Tech Coach podcast, episode number 87. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to a great show today. I have two amazing co-hosts that were just with me in Miami, Florida for the FETC conference. We had so much fun, saw a lot of great things, met a lot of amazing people, got a chance to do some networking. And today we're here to talk about what everybody leaving that conference is talking about, which is what happens when we get back to our school districts and that reality hits us. You know what I mean? You go to a conference, you see all this great stuff, you find all these new adventures, and then you come back and things aren't there. Things are blocked. Technology isn't there. You might have to ask for money to buy things that you really want. How do you do it? What do you do? What advice do you have? That's our show today. We'd love to hear from you guys. Have you ever been to a conference and had to come back to reality? How did you do it? We'd love to hear from you guys. You can certainly check us out on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach or visit us over on AskTheTechCoach.com and subscribe to this show and all of our shows over on the TeacherCast Educational Network. I want to bring on my first guest, Susan Vincent. How are you today? Welcome back to the show.
I am great. It's so great to be back with you again, Jeff, and it was so great to finally meet you in person in Miami. What a great week we had.
We had such a fantastic time. You know, I'm sitting there walking around the convention center, and then I turn around and there you were. I believe you were learning how to ditch your textbook, weren't you?
I was talking to Matt Miller, and then you walked up. I'm like, that's Jeff.
Did you have a good time at the conference?
I did. It was an awesome time, and it was such a great opportunity for me because I got to take 13 of my coworkers with me, 3 of them from my colleagues from my curriculum team, and 10 classroom teachers. That was just awesome.
That was wow! All those people came from your school. Let all those people come down to Miami Beach.
They did. Thank you, Christian Academy of Louisville in Indiana.
That is awesome. Did they have a good time?
They did. A lot of them were new teachers, like less than 3 or 4 year teachers, and they just watching the excitement on their face was just wonderful.
It was so nice being down there and seeing all of the teachers experiencing really what's coming down the pike in EdTech. And somebody else who I had an opportunity to run into is also on the show today. I want to bring on our good friend Tish Richmond. Tish, how are you today?
Hello, I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for bringing me into the conversation.
I am so excited that you are here. Not only are you a tech coach out in Oregon, but you've got a new podcast. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing out there.
Yeah, so I just started a new podcast in September, and I started it because I just wanted to be able to connect with all of these amazing educators that are out there doing amazing things and just start some really rich conversations. And so I kind of just dove right in, and I've been really lucky to be able to connect with other podcasters like yourself that are just doing an amazing job and just kind of learn as I go. And so my podcast literally started on a car ride to Portland to see our daughter, my husband and I, and it has just kind of evolved from there. So it's been this wonderful journey, and I'm learning so much as I go. It's been fantastic.
I don't think you said, what was the name of your podcast?
It's called the Make Learning Magical podcast.
And where do we find it?
You can find it on many platforms, Google, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Casts. So your favorite platform, you should be able to find it.
Check out Tish's podcast. We will, of course, have all the links over on AskTheTechCoach.com. This is episode 87, and let's just kind of dive into this. We had a lot of educators all going down to beautiful, sunny, I shouldn't keep saying it this way because I know people at home are listening, Miami Beach. What did you guys think of the conference center? What did you think of just overall being down there on South Beach? I know it was a struggle for everybody.
Oh man, that weather was just awesome, and the ocean breeze. I mean, even though my hotel was more closer to downtown, we got to go visit the beach, and that breeze was just awesome. I mean, it wasn't unbearably hot, but it was just enjoyable weather.
Yeah, it was amazing. The day that I left, we had an incoming storm, which in Oregon, storm is not quite like it is in some other parts of the country. But when we get snow at all, things shut down. School shuts down, transportation shuts down because we're not used to it. And so I was just hoping that everything would go as planned and I'd be able to fly out. And sure enough, I was able to. And it was just what I needed to just reinvigorate me and just inspire me. So I'm so excited to bring back all that I learned to our district, and just to be able to connect with so many amazing educators that I call friends. It just was much needed. So I had a fantastic, wonderful time.
I was thinking about this the whole time home. There was a lot of comments about Miami. Should they go back? Was it a great location? Did you have the draw from the local school districts getting there? How does a teacher from Oregon say to their boss, I want to go to South Beach for a week in January? But last year in Orlando, the convention center was huge and you have to take a car there. Right. And so at the end of the day, everybody just goes back to their hotel rooms wherever they are. I did kind of like the fact that on South Beach, everything was in walking distance. I mean, other than taking the shuttle to and from the convention center with all my podcasting gear, I just kept walking miles and miles and miles. The beach was great. They had a nice little walking path up and down. I love the closeness of this. And I met a lot of people just passing by on the road rather than, having to meet up with an Uber or something like that. I kind of thought it was nice being a little closer to each other.
Well, I guess I had a little bit different experience because I was further away with our hotel, but the shuttle bus service was great. And then we used a trolley to get down to the beach area. So that was neat. And one thing I felt neat that was just neat to experience, and I'm very much not a football fan, but they were setting up for the Super Bowl broadcast down on the beach. So it was just neat, in a couple of weeks when we turn on the TV and watch the Super Bowl, we can say, hey, we were there a few weeks ago.
I didn't even catch that. I did see on the beach this big, huge thing out in the water that somebody had told me was one of the Disney cruise ships, which I thought was kind of interesting there.
Oh, yes, I was quite daydreaming when we passed the Miami cruise port in the shuttle bus to the convention center each day from our hotel.
I had a chance to fly down on Monday because on Tuesday I did my podcasting workshop. It was amazing. We had 45 or so educators from all walks of life. I had kindergarten teachers. I had middle school, high school. I even had two principals and a superintendent. It's awesome to do a session like that because you get the chance to just show off everything. I loved being able to show off what my kids were doing. I love showing off the projects, the websites, all those things. But I got to say, and I'd love to get your opinions on this, it's really hard to do a session when you've got kindergarten through superintendent and you really are trying to figure out, where do you go with your curriculum when everybody is sitting in front of you? Usually I get a room full of elementaries or a room full of high schools, and you can pretty much choose your adventure there. But my goodness, when you have a lot of people there, you got to kind of hit everything for everybody.
And as a tech coach, that's
the job, right?
So yeah, obviously that's the job, but that's where we kind of identify back as the teachers in the classroom. We have all those learning styles of students in our classroom. We have to, we preach as a tech coach, differentiate. And, it's hard when, we're faced with that, on the fly. I can totally identify with you.
Now, Tish, you had some sessions down there, didn't you?
I did. I presented my Magical Adventures in the Gamified Classroom on Friday, and then I was able to co-facilitate a couple sessions. I was I believe it was Wednesday, I co-facilitated a session with Jamie Donnelly on augmented and virtual reality. And my expertise is really in the breakout EDU and creating breakouts for different learning environments. And her expertise is, augmented and virtual reality. And she brings gamification in a lot as well. And so it was a really, really fun session to get to present together. And I learned a ton just from what she shared. So that was fabulous. And then I co-facilitated a session with Rochelle Poth on Friday on infographics. So had a great time in all of the sessions. It was a lot of fun.
It was great to see everybody attending these sessions. On Tuesday, I had a chance to go into our friend Brianna Hodges' session. She did an entire day's workshop for future-ready tech coaches. And my goodness, she told me that she even was turning people away. There was so many more people there that the fire code couldn't handle everything. And I got there around 2 o'clock, with like 45 minutes to an hour to go. And the place was absolutely packed. I got to ask you, Tish, you do professional development at home and now you also are doing it on larger stages. Do you prepare differently? Do you make different resources? How do you tech coach differently between being at home versus being at a conference?
Right. Well, sometimes when you go to conferences, kind of a ballpark of how many are going to be there, and sometimes you have no idea, right? And so I think that, if I'm at home and I know the people that are going to be in my session and whether, they're elementary or junior high or high school or specific content areas, I'm definitely going to create resources that are geared towards those different areas. If I'm at a conference, I try to create resources that will hit all of them and be helpful for all of them. And sometimes it's hard to know how many people are going to attend your session. And so you kind of have to have a couple different plans for, depending on what that room is going to look like.
One of the things that we all must face at the end of our conferences is the reality. Right? We go out to these big conferences, and even if it's a local ed camp or something, and we see these great things. I love sitting at the Microsoft booth and learning all about Minecraft. I loved checking out all the virtual reality stuff with the merged cubes. I had a great time talking to those guys and getting a chance to see all the amazing applications. But we all have that opportunity now as we get back here to go home, to go back into our day jobs. I want to talk to you guys a little bit today about that. How do we go about keeping that high? How do we keep that energy of an excitement of a conference, but we're going back into a world where not everybody is on that same page, running at that speed, interested in innovating their classrooms. Sue, what do you think? I mean, you're in that position where you tech coach all over, but you also had 12 people coming with you to grab that vibe and to grab that energy. What are you looking forward to as you step back into your school district and into your classroom over the next couple of weeks?
Well, keeping that energy up in those people, being able to encourage them to share. And because, I explained to them at one point, you sit in all these PDs with me at school, and all of you and your teacher, your co-teachers are listening to everything I'm throwing at you. But now you're here, you're in this environment, and you're seeing it for yourself. You go back and share it with your coworkers. And I found that to be sometimes a little bit more motivating to teachers than sitting there hearing me tell it. Now, if those other 10 or 12 teachers can go back and share it with their own coworkers, they're going to mean more, even though it might come to the point of, oh, I heard about this new thing. And it might be me over here saying, well, I've told you about it before. But if I can get that co-teacher to go back and share it and be excited about it, then my job has been worth it.
Is that an easy thing?
Not always. I mean, I think because, I think I put down in the show notes, one of those things is to reflect. Actually go through your notes while that excitement is still fresh. And that's important for myself personally. If I don't sit there and go through those notes, and I've had a holiday off today, so it's been a great time for me to be able to do that. If I don't go through them right now, I'm going to get busy. And again, reality is going to hit me. And then I'm not going to be motivating to the teachers I need to be motivating to when I get back.
Tell me about those notes. What do you, are you pencil and paper? Are you Evernote, Google Doc? How are you organizing things and keeping yourself busy during like a 5-day conference like we just had?
Yes, for this conference, and again here lately, I've been trying to become a better Google Keep user. So I used Google Keep on my computer and took the notes just like I would normally take notes, and then I would convert with Google Keep. You have the ability to then convert it to a Google Doc. So with our group, we had a whole Google folder that we were all sharing our notes so we can all refer to. So for me, Google Keep, and then I also, and may or may not be efficient, had my phone handy with me as I'm typing on the computer. Even if I do have that slide that really stands out to me, take a picture of it and still attach that to the Google Keep note. And then it all goes over and I have what I need to refer to later.
Tish, how about yourself? How did you keep yourself organized? How are you keeping a memory of everything that just happened?
Well, I have a couple different ways of doing that. I love to sketchnote, and so I have an iPad Pro, and I use Paper by 53 to do sketch notes. And so some of the sessions I attended and the keynote with Daniel Pink, I created a sketch note of, which I still have to finish some of those. When I'm having conversations, which I find sometimes at conferences, the best learning comes in those organic conversations with people in the hallway. I might pull up my notes just on my phone and write down, type in things that I want to remember, to check into later. And then I try to keep a Google Doc as well, where I kind of pull it all together. Taking pictures of slides and presentations is another way. And then on the way home, on the flight home, I started to compile all of that in a Google Doc and just try to keep a record of each day, what I attended, what I learned, that will turn into a blog post eventually. I think it is so important to write as soon after the conference as possible, because you think you're going to remember, and I know I don't. So it takes me a few days because I'm exhausted. On the way home, it was hard for me actually to do a whole lot of reflecting because I was just flat out exhausted. And so it was really today and last night that I really started to kind of pull all those pieces together.
I've been in that same mode. I've tried to sit and write a blog post about it at the airport, but my thoughts were really all over the place, and I ended up just basically copying Twitter videos and stuff that I did onto a big post. And sometime this week I'll kind of detox through that. And tonight, as we're recording this, it's Monday the 20th. I've been editing and posting all of the video interviews that we did, and it was great to be able to go out and talk to these different booths as a teacher, right? Like I'm actually in the position where I'm going up to these places going, I'm a middle school teacher, and how can you help my school? Which is completely different than in the past where I'm going up saying, hi, I'm Teacher Cast, what can I do for you? I love coming at these conferences from just a different point of view. And, Susan, one of the things that's mentioned here in the show notes is rest. I kind of like the fact that we had an extra day off.
Exactly.
Everybody. I don't know if that's going to come out the right way, but everybody needs a vacation from their trip, and just to have an extra day today to really just get your sail under you. I think I'm saying that the right way. I'm looking forward to Tuesday morning. I'm looking forward to getting back in the classroom.
Yeah, getting the mindset back into school mode has been huge today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here doing grades. We're at the end of the marking period. I'm thinking about all these different things. I'm trying to put these I'm sitting here. I got 4 merge cubes in front of me trying to figure out what can I do with these. But, it is that opportunity here to kind of come back and go, what can we do? So, Sue, I know you're a pro at all this. How do we have those conversations with our uppers that start with, the conference was fantastic. This is what I learned. This is what I went to. By the way, can I go again? And here is how I want to implement everything. What's the best way to be having those conversations? Because there's thousands of teachers tomorrow that are going back into the classrooms, and their colleagues just know that they were out for a week at Miami Beach. How do we get through all this?
Well, first of all, just with me, for example, having taken a big group this year, is just simply thanking them for allowing us to go, taking care of those subs and being flexible, because I know it wasn't easy for our administration to send 14 of us down there, but just simply thanking them and being appreciative. And I know several of my group members have already done that, and I wrote a big email this morning and did that. So that's huge. But then just continuing to share what we've learned. As a tech coach, I run on social media. We have just a Facebook EdTech share and discussion for our 4 campuses in our Christian Academy school system that I coach, and just continue. One thing I do is Tech Tip Tuesday. And so for the next several weeks, a lot of my Tech Tip Tuesdays will come from what I've learned at FETC, and I will very prominently mention that that's where I learned about it at, just so, again, those administrators see, oh, she got that, she learned something, and now she's sharing it. And then again, keeping tabs and following up with that core group of teachers I took with me. We have a PD day coming up in February, so some of our teachers that went are going to get the opportunity to share what they learned. So we're very excited about that.
Tish, what are you thinking about this week?
Yeah, well, very similar. I'm gonna go back for sure and thank my administration and the team that I'm working with. Have an opportunity to share with them the experiences, the sessions that I went to, what I learned about. I also send out, I call it the Spark newsletter, to our innovation team. So I'll definitely be sharing some things that I've learned through there. And then I also meet with my innovation team once a month. So I'll be bringing some of those ideas to the team through that PD opportunity as well. And I think it's really important for me just to be able to just put some things into practice right away. I've learned a ton about augmented and virtual reality at FATC. I failed to mention before that I was also part of the augmented and virtual reality playground. I was able to facilitate one of the stations in that with Jamie Donnelly and some other amazing educators. And so just from being a part of that experience, I learned some really amazing things that I want to be able to put into motion right away. And so for me, to be able to do that, I need to do just that. I need to find a way to implement it right away and put it in motion, because otherwise it's just, I'm going to forget. And it's going to be something that was really fun to learn about at the time, but, won't be able to be integrated into the classrooms in our district. So
we're talking
to do that right away while it's still fresh in your mind.
We're talking today about how to come back to reality from a big conference. We just had FETC. Some of you that are listening to this might be in London attending the BET conference. Some of you guys might be heading off in a few weeks, I think it is, to TCEA. And of course, FETC really is the beginning of the conference season. And, all eyes, all roads this year, it seems to lead to Anaheim. I'm looking forward to ISTE. I'm going to be presenting 2 sessions on podcasting. Are either of you guys presenting at ISTE this year?
Unfortunately, not this year. That'll be my summer vacation time, so it kind of collided with each other.
Yes, I have a couple presentations in the People's Choice that I'm hoping go through. So, but I am going to be attending for sure, regardless. So I'm really looking forward to that.
We would love to hear from you guys. What happens when you guys go to a conference? How do you bring it back? How do you say thank you? How do you, again, I'm looking forward to sharing what I know, but I also know that there's some amazing people, as you guys said, that I need to say thank you to, who have not substituted for me, but they've watched my kids for the last, week. And a lot of thank yous are in order for that. So if you're listening and you're one of my colleagues, thank you. Thank you. Thank you to that. Oh, and if my wife is listening, thank you to her too, right? I think that's also a big thing.
Yes, definitely.
At home all week, triplets, enough said, right? Yeah. So let's take a look forward here, right? We talked a little bit about how do we go back to reality, but also that paying it forward. Susan, you mentioned a few things about how you're going to be sharing what you know. I know I've got some PD sessions that I'm coming up with. We've got some podcasts that are going to be dealing with some of the topics that were there. In looking at the floor, did you happen to notice any themes? I think I think each of us kind of talked about this one individually, but I'm always looking at these conferences going, what was the theme? What was the big overall theme? I looked at last year for ISTE, and it looked like most of the theme for ISTE was being integrated. This app works with this. This program works for this. My app works with your cube or whatever. Did you guys happen to notice any themes or any large chunks of similarities in these different companies?
I mean, I see Tish mentioned AR and VR, definitely. One thing I saw was esports coming on strong. It was everywhere on the vendor floor, and a lot of sessions mentioned in some form or fashion, whether they've implemented it or, we have this app or we have this great computer design that will work for your esports program, or how do I get started in esports? So that was a huge theme.
Absolutely. I agree with you as well. I mean, augmented reality and virtual reality were kind of my focus this year, based on the sessions that I helped co-facilitate and what I'm really wanting to bring back to my district. But I also was in conversations with a lot of educators that are diving into this esports world, and it's really kind of taking education by storm, and there's a lot of exciting things happening there. So
very much.
Yeah, exciting stuff.
Well, I'm certainly excited about getting back to school. I know as everybody is going to be listening to this, they're going to be going back to school for the first time in at least 3 days, if not a week and a half. And we would love to remind you guys that we have several great podcasts here on the TeacherCast Educational Network. If you're looking for if you're a tech coach, of course, subscribe to this show. If you're looking to learn about how to bring audio and video into your classroom, you can check out Educational Podcasting today. And if you're out there as a blogger and author looking to build your EDU brand, we just revamped the entire buildyouredubrand.com site, and of course want to introduce you guys to our newest podcast on the lineup, the Jeff Bradbury Show, where we're helping you guys learn how to build your EDU brand one podcast at a time. So check out everything over on the TeacherCast Educational Network. Ladies, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time. It was great hanging out with you guys and learning from you, and I hope that this is the start of a fantastic 2020 for you guys as you go through. Tish, one more time, where can we find out more information about you, and plug that podcast one more time?
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter at TishRich. I have a website, tisharichmond.com, and you can find my podcast, Make Learning Magical, on your favorite podcasting platform.
Nice. And Susan, where can we find and learn about the great stuff you're doing?
You can follow me on Twitter at SV314DWS, and I also blog and have my website at techimaginations.net.
And we will, of course, have links to all of that stuff. This is Ask the Tech Coach podcast, episode 87. Coming back to reality after attending a conference. This is Ask the Tech Coach. My goodness, it's been a while since I've done a podcast. I got to get untongue-tied here. We got a lot of great shows coming up. Don't forget to check out everything over on the TeacherCast Educational Network. And on behalf of Tish and Susan, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.
You've been listening to the TeacherCast Educational Network, hosted by Jeff Bradbury. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter at TeacherCast or online at www.teachercast.net. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.